Welcome back to the Always Forward podcast with my wife. What's up, lady?
Oh, I can't bang on the table again. I always forget that.
You can bang on the table.
Are we ready? Was this going?
We're live.
Oh, okay, cool.
Welcome to the table. It's been a while.
It's been a minute. Almost a year.
She gave me a black eye. That's why I'm wearing shades.
Babe, let's just be a little bit more careful what we talk shit about in public.
That was my Gators plug. Ding.
Nice. I hope everybody went there on Black Friday because that was insane. They did 25% off.
Yeah, they're running something now, I think, too.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, not 100% sure what it is, but yeah.
Go over there, check it out.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Honestly, I think one of the big things, I like to kind of do a New Year's podcast with you every year, right? But this one's kind of preemptive to New Year's, so I think it's good if we talk about stuff that people deal a lot with around this time of year.
I think I'm just going to record a bunch of pre-stuff because I don't want to work over the holidays.
Pre-stuff?
Like I'm going to record some things.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nice. Just going to, anything you want to bring up, just I'll be your bouncing board. So you can use these for clips for other stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah, no problem. I got you, babe.
No, there's some things that you wanted to bring up.
Well, I did.
We've
been talking about it a ton, and I really, really think it's a good time of year to talk about it. As somebody who struggled a ton with anxiety, I would say I struggled some with depression in my life, but I think there's two different kinds of depression. I feel like maybe this isn't scientific, but this is just in my opinion.
It's like my opinion, man.
Yeah, there's depression that people deal with and they can't identify why, and it's prolonged, right, for a long time. And then there's depression, I feel like, that people deal with that is very specific to something that's going on, and it's almost just sadness, but you could say you feel oppressed or depressed.
There's a like a clinical version, like there's a chemical imbalance in your, like for instance, low testosterone will cause depression. That's a chemical in your body that's causing lack of dopamine. But then there's also the other ones that is you're depressed because
grief.
Well, I was more like your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're seeking pleasure. You're not purpose driven. You don't have goals. The guy that's I don't get depressed very much. I don't have time to even think about it. And a lot of times people are thinking about the past. So it's a mental thing as far as like thinking about things that have happened in the past. And there's a couple different versions of it. One is a chemical thing, and the other one is a mental situation. But yeah,
and I mean, it's not to say that if you're dealing with the mental things that can't affect your chemical imbalance in your brain, but I do think there is something that's identifiable that you can say, okay, this is why I'm just really dealing with sadness, or this is why I'm really upset. And so one of the things...
Getting a twitch thinking about it. I'm wanting to yell at the microphone now and yell at people.
Well, just to be fair, right? Like, because we both dealt with that, like that version of sadness or depression where it's something we're struggling with and we can't get past. And I truly, truly believe, like you said, it's something where you're thinking about the past or dwelling on the past. Because there is a difference between thinking about something sad and feeling sadness, because that is 100% like normal. And then there's dwelling there and setting up a tent and living there.
Yeah, that's where I get a little fired up, because everybody's like, well, I'm dealing with depression. Okay, dude, what are you doing about it? Well, nothing. Well, no shit. Like, get off the couch, go work out like Papa Swolio, go to the fucking gym. That will fix a lot of shit.
A lot.
Go to the gym.
Yes. So okay, and that also being said, I think one of the most common reasons for depression, maybe especially amongst women, but overall, has a lot to do with, I think the word would be like letting your life or your circumstances sweep you away to where you are, fast forward 10, 15 years down the road and you're in the same spot. Your life is stuck. You're stuck. And that is something I personally have felt a sense of depression about. feeling as though I'm
Explain
stuck.
that, because I'm like, when I look at your life, the last 15 years, nothing has been the same. Like
No.
you are not where you are now 15 years
No,
ago.
for sure,
And
but-
you haven't been.
No.
Everything's been different.
No,
constantly.
but there was a period where I struggled with it of about 7-8 years where I was stuck.
Is that
mentally,
because
emotionally, physically.
because you were dreading on the past? You're like holding on to the past?
I know. I really think it's because I was stuck and not able to fulfill anything that I wanted to do with my life.
And maybe drinking?
Drinking for sure compounded it. But like, this is what I'll say. So in, let's say, those kinds of circumstances where you're dealing with feeling stuck, because I know a lot of people feel stuck. Like when you talk about purpose and even just pleasure over purpose and all these things, people are like, yeah, that sounds great, but I don't know my purpose. I don't know my...
So go to the fucking gym.
It's there. It's at the gym. Your purpose is at the gym. No, really, truly, let's say you start on a road after high school of my life. I could do anything. I could be anyone. I could go anywhere. And you have this endless possibilities for yourself. And then as you realize how hard it is to do certain things, or maybe you do start drinking, you start wasting some of your life. It's like 5 years goes by and you're like, I have not done anything. I'm still waitressing. I'm still bartending. I have...
I talk about this with the Agoge people all the time.
Right. And it's so...
That's how I get them, though. I'm like, does your life look like Groundhog Day? Join the Agoge. We will stack wins.
One thing that Dr. Jim Richards says, if you don't know Dr. Jim Richards, Impact Ministries, he's awesome. But one thing he says is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life is who you marry, because it will affect you for the rest of your life, whether you move forward or you go nowhere. Married or in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
The person that you choose to accompany you down the road will determine how far you go.
I 100% believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been divorced twice. This is my third marriage, and I can say...
You going on a third divorce? You working on a third divorce?
Would you stop? I can honestly say that the majority of, not putting my issues off on anyone else, but the majority of my being stuck or feeling stuck was attributed to the person that I was married to in those cases. In my second marriage was the time when I struggled a lot with depression. And I think a lot of it was because I grew up with this incredible parents and I had a great childhood and all that. And I did missions work all through my teen years. And I, had a lot of things going on.
Shout out to the Capras.
I know they're listening, so making sure they know how awesome I think they are. No, but they definitely gave me so much opportunities, and they didn't have a lot. They didn't have money or anything, so it was like the opportunities that they gave me were...
Well, I mean, your dad worked...
his butt off.
He worked his butt off.
Construction, roofing houses.
To give you guys a good life.
Yeah. So I grew up like that, and I literally don't think I had ever been in the country for an entire year. Growing up, we did missions work out of the country 3, 4, 5 times a year. I was all over the world. By the time I was 16, I'd been in like 7, 8, 9 countries doing missions work. So after that, when I got married to my second husband and he had 3 kids, my life just kind of came to a huge halt.
You're doing Groundhog Day.
I was raising his kids. And I just kind of got stuck there. And a lot of it did have to do with alcohol. And I kind of come out of partying after, some of that. And so I just was in that position of feeling like I didn't really know where I was supposed to go, my purpose, what that was. And like you always say, when you get into that position of seeking pleasure over purpose, then you are inevitably unsatiated. There is no way to fill that void that you're having.
No, it just keeps going. And then you got hurt, and then they gave you pills because you got hurt. Your hip got hurt.
Yeah, I at the time, I think we were really, our marriage was like really on the fringe at that point. And I was struggling so much, and I was looking for it out. I was drinking almost every night just because I was like, oh my God. And I got a stress fracture doing CrossFit. I was going to the gym, and I thought that would helped me so much. And it did in a lot of ways, but CrossFit, you know how that goes. You get hurt. So I got a stress fracture in my hip and they gave me some pills. And then that started me down the road of popping pills on top of everything else. And
that's when you got your mom bod.
Yeah. Nice and soft. Cush. And then for me personally, somebody who's always been very interested in fitness and wanting to look good, and I always wanted to do bikini competitions and all these different things, I just looked like a butterball, just like a Kansas butterball. And that...
Welcome to the Midwest.
Yeah.
Now I'm here.
And ultimately, truthfully, I think there's something to be said for violating your own sense of values.
Yeah.
So if I'm somebody who cares about fitness and nutrition and health, and I'm constantly saying that that's what I care about, but then I'm doing the opposite. I'm eating shit. I'm, popping pills. I'm smoking cigarettes. I'm drinking alcohol. You're literally violating your own sense of values and your own conscience.
But you're having fun.
I was having some fun at the time. And then as soon as it wore off.
In the moment.
As soon as it wore off, I wasn't having fun.
Yeah.
And then you feel stuck and you start to have this sense of, I don't believe in myself anymore. I don't believe in the things that I'm saying, and whether or not you can actually understand that that's what you're doing. Your subconscious knows that what you're saying and what you're doing are two different things, and you're violating what you're saying and with what you're doing, and it doesn't even believe you. You don't believe yourself.
Yeah.
When that happens, I think there's a disconnect. And in some ways, you just start to self-sabotage because you no longer believe the things you're saying, the things that come out of your mouth. And if you've ever met somebody that's it's really sad, but everybody's seen the memes even of the fat guy giving people advice at the gym, right? Mm-hmm. Or the guy who's trying to give parenting advice and his kids hate him, or the guy that's trying to give marriage advice and he's not even married, or whatever it may be. We've all been there. We've all seen that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think what that kind of comes down to is just a prolonged period of having a vision for your life, of having an idea of who you are and what you want, and then not putting that plan in place to execute it. So you no longer believe yourself, and you just violate your conscience every day, and you start to self-sabotage.
Well, and you're not keeping your promises to yourself.
Right.
And if you can't keep your promise to yourself, you think you're going to keep promises to other people?
Right. And nope. and most likely people won't really believe you anyways, because if you're somebody that's constantly talking about health and nutrition and fitness, and then you're smoking cigarettes
you're a flake.
Right.
Yeah. Then it's going to take you seriously.
Right. Yeah. So I think for me specifically, that over time created a lot of self-loathing, a lack of purpose, a lack of drive. Internally.
Yeah. Not externally. Not what people saw necessarily, right, but just what you were dealing with privately.
And brain fog from drinking a lot. Honestly, I would say, because I just did finish this bikini competition. Mm-hmm. Woo! I just finished a bikini competition for everybody who doesn't know that. We did about a 6-month cut for me to get down to probably the best shape I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, don't do 6 months. What were you at a year out?
A year out?
A year out.
What do you mean?
What was your, I don't know if you know, share, but your weight?
My weight?
Yeah.
I don't think my weight matters. How about we talk about body fat?
What was your body fat?
Because my weight wasn't that crazy of a change. It was,
right towards the end.
Right towards the end, obviously, for my cut. But my body fat at the beginning of my cut at 6 months or before.
Well, you were a year out from, Dimitri was a year old at this point. Mm-hmm. Where were you at physically?
I think I checked the other day. At 12 months postpartum, I weighed about 150, I think, but my body fat was 25%.
That low? You think it was that low?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
25%. And then you say that's that low, that's a lot.
I mean, yeah,
that's
sure.
Pounds of fat.
Yeah, I get it. But I mean, coming off a baby, I don't know. I give a lot of leeway to women who
Okay,
have
I'll tell you
children.
this. First month postpartum,
Yeah.
my body fat was 35%.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Within the first year, I got it down to 25%.
Okay.
Body fat.
And then from year to your competition.
And then right before I started my cut, I started my cut 6 months before. So about May of this year, I was at 22% body fat.
Okay. So in 6 months, you went from 25 to 22.
Right. And then in another 6 months, I went from 22 to 16.
Yeah. And then your weight at the end was
120. Yeah. Which I don't think I've weighed that since I was in high school. And even then it was like,
you're not there. You're not that anymore.
Right. Yeah. Today I think I was like 127 or something.
Yeah.
But like still best shape I've ever been in my life. 37 years old after having a kid, 2 years after having a kid.
So bringing this back to like how you feel in depression and all this kind of stuff. So in that journey, and you can tell me whatever, you can tell me at a year out, you can tell me at 6 months out, but did you see a progression of improved cognitive ability, improved brain, improved energy, less depression, more dopamine, like feeling better about yourself? Like where did that curve start to happen?
I can tell you for myself, but I mean, you would be the only person who could tell anyone from an outsider
You were angry at the end. I don't want to talk about the end. I didn't like that. I was like, we're never doing one of these conversations. We're never doing one of these competitions again.
Honestly,
Allie's being a bitch all the time.
The reason it gets a little frustrating at the end is it honestly wasn't that bad calorically. What started to happen was at the end, I was getting a little freaked because I was storing water in certain places and I was starting to kind of panic and I was worried it wasn't going to all come together.
Oh, stop.
But before that,
I was like, I support you, babe. You're doing great. Great job.
Positive energy.
Positive energy. I can't wait this to be over.
So I think probably, coming out of all that postpartum, it was so new for me. I was trying to like deal with the breastfeeding piece and how much I needed calorically to put on muscle while breastfeeding, which is a really difficult thing to do. So I would say really truthfully, even though I was training and trying to eat right and tracking and all that postpartum, really at 1 year postpartum after breastfeeding and all that stuff, was I really able to like make the body composition change because I stopped breastfeeding. It takes.
But when did you, from your point of view, when did you start feeling better?
So quite honestly, I will say, it's nice to lose weight postpartum and it feels good. It feels like you're making big changes and that's great. I'm very hard on myself and I know exactly how I want to look. So like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm never satisfied with my body. I don't like feel like I'm ever going to look the way I want to look. I'm not one of those people. I know exactly how I want to fucking look. And when I'm there, I'm like, I look fucking exactly how I want to look. And there's always things like skin and you can't do anything about, but I'm not one of those people that's like never satisfied with my physique. I'm like, I look good, So that was a place for me and I knew exactly what that looked like in my mind. And so I would say, when I hit that felt really good. But the whole journey of doing the comp itself and starting to cut for it and train for it and that 6 month, 22-week process or whatever made me feel good right when I started it because I was finally on track.
So it wasn't the
results.
It wasn't the results. You just felt less depressed because you were on mission.
Yep.
Kind of, in my terminology.
I had a plan too, not just a goal. And when you have a goal and you keep not reaching it, that's where.
So internally, you felt better just by being on a plan.
Being on a plan.
Okay.
For me, that's exactly where it starts. It's like I know exactly where I'm going, and I just need to know how to get there. And I think that's probably one of the things that most people, especially women, struggle with is because you set goals for yourself and you have no idea how to get there. And if you think that you know how to get there and you keep failing at it, then you need help. And you need help.
God, you're going to get me all worked up. Yeah.
But for me, that was a major thing, right? Getting the plan and just having that in and of itself, knowing that I no longer had guesswork, but that I actually could execute this was like, I'm on mission, and this is like, I'm on purpose.
Yeah.
This is on purpose, this whole journey. So that was awesome. But then what really started to just alter my brain was coming off alcohol. And like I said, I
was so happy when you did that.
I'm not saying that I never have a drink the rest of my life, or I can't have.
I have anything to do about it.
I mean, like having a little bit of wine once in a blue moon, whatever. Your choices are your choices. But for me, coming off of that for 6 months, I don't think I've ever felt so aware of myself.
Yeah. Why is that?
Coming through like the mommy wine culture, which is so damaging. The fact that people joke about it, like my kids are so fucking crazy, I'm gonna go have a glass of wine like every night.
How about you just go to the fucking gym?
It's so sick and toxic because what we're talking about is women keeping an extra 15 to 20 pounds of body fat on their body because they can't eliminate a substance.
No, it's because of their hormones.
Their hormones are fucked because of the substance. That whole thing for me, like, was just, I need to unwind, and this is how I do it. So I wasn't an alcoholic in the amount of drinks I had, but I can say there was a problem for how frequently I drank.
Okay, so here's I gotta put this on the man side of things because we're at 95% male listeners.
Okay.
Your wife is one of those people, and the man's like not into it, and because there's a couple things I want to get into, and we're trending that direction. What do you do? What do you tell? I know what I did.
You squawked about it for a couple of years.
Well, but I also just stopped.
Yeah.
And I never did it.
It came to where
you were even like, let's do a mimosa. And I was like, nah.
Mm-hmm. And then good. It's like, I'm going to have this by myself. And that's going to be stupid. The biggest thing I can say is there's always a root to that problem. And probably dealing with the root is going to be more beneficial than dealing with the overall just symptoms of the problem.
That's a good point, but that's kind of difficult to get into. Like give me something you know how I am.
Yeah.
As a man, what did I do that worked with you, or what could a guy do that could be taken from a wife, not not to where it's like it's going to blow up in their face.
I mean, okay, so there's two ways. There's like a healthy, responsible, adult, mature way, and then there's like a game way. And I will say this, I don't think you were playing games with me, but
I was not playing games.
No, but I mean, it definitely snapped my ass out of it a little bit, is because for one, this is all kind of funny that worked out this way. You got in crazy good shape. And we'd gone from kind of both just like staying a little fluffy to like you being shredded, and I just had a baby.
Well, this happened in 2017, but then while you were pregnant, I even got in better shape.
He had like 6-pack abs, and I was like enormous pregnant. So
those are great photos. By the way.
getting out of postpartum, I was like, I got to catch up. Like, he looks amazing, and I don't want to be the fat partner.
You don't want to be the fat mom?
I don't want to be the fat mom for the next 6 years. Well, part of it that. But then you brought up wanting to compete in that bodybuilding competition, the fitness competition. And that's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, but you quit drinking before that. So that's what did I do that made you go, I'm going to do this? Was that it?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't stop drinking before that.
Oh, I thought you did.
Not really. I mean, I drank less and less. Having Dimitri really helped me just stop drinking less and less, because I didn't drink when I was pregnant, and then coming on this much wine every once in a blue moon, but then being postpartum, breastfeeding, and just being awake, trying to take care of a baby, and I just did not want to be a liability.
And to give people some perspective, when Allie and I met,
I was the life of the party.
Well, I'm not putting it all on you, babe. Like we
were Four Loko kind of people.
we were hammering down.
We were throwing down.
Yeah.
Whiskey.
Foot on the gas pedal.
Vodka.
All the way to the bottom.
Shots.
We were.
I mean, we were both going through divorces too at the time. And so we were drinking to escape. We were drinking to have fun. We were drinking to.
Yeah. I just freshly gotten out of the military and some other stuff. And I think I just finished contracting when we started talking or shortly after that. And, yeah, man, what a rough time.
But quite honestly, I don't necessarily think it was something you did specifically. I think it was also just.
I remember telling you that I was like, hey, I don't really like you
drinking, but you told me that when we were first together. You were
telling me with you.
Yeah, but you were like, but you are mean. You drink too much and you're mean.
3 drink alley is not fun.
Yeah. So like I said, it wasn't that I was drinking some crazy amount of drinks. I would maybe have 2 drinks, but it was just I was having 2 drinks several nights a week.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It just became mommy wine culture. Well, but once I had Dimitri and I just realized how much of a responsibility it was to have a whole person in your care and that I just didn't want to be a liability ever. Yeah. I didn't want to be a liability for you. I didn't want to be a liability for him. I wanted to be ready, physically fit, and able to address any threat that ever came, our way at any point. And that meant like we go out to dinner and I have a drink and I'm like tipsy and then something went down.
Yeah.
Like, nope, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
That ain't going to be me. I'm going to be very, very aware and strong and ready for anything. Yeah. And then not to mention that also, having a son really gave me that sense of purpose that I just wanted him to see me as strong and healthy and like the best version of myself for the rest of his life. I never wanted him to see me like a liability, sloppy, messy, drunk. It's not how I want my kids to see me. So that really did it for me. It just took me a while to grasp that's the sense of that coming over me.
So then as far as the man, again, going back to that.
So going back to that, so you might have
consistently, just if you're going to lead the way.
Well, so
this is what I tell people. I'm like, you got to set the standard initially.
Mm-hmm. I think there's, like I said, 2 ways. One would be you stopping, you looking amazing, you getting in the best shape of your life, and just seeing where it goes, seeing if she is like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Because most women will, if your husband starts to look like, you don't want to not look like that as well, right? Mm-hmm. So that'd be part of it. Then, or the mature, super evolved version would be to talk to your spouse about goals and plans and a future and how you see yourself in the future I want to do this.
See, I think that's where being married to the right person matters the most, and marrying, because I could see like with you and I can sit down and go, okay, what are we gonna do for the next year? What are we gonna do for our goals? How are we gonna accomplish all these things together? And then we can have that conversation, either individual goals, collective goals, whatever. We can have that conversation. I think unfortunately, a lot of women see that as almost like a threat. Yeah. And then they get insecure, if they don't have their own thing or they're not goal driven, and then that's not a partnership. Mm-hmm. That's a domestic friendship. Not even a friendship, because you're not even
you
friends.
Become at odds for sure. So that's where it's that would be if both parties were emotionally intelligent and super confident and secure in their relationship and with one another, and they could have that talk. Granted, that's also how you have that talk with somebody if they're overweight and you want them to lose weight. But we're all insecure and we're all just humans and we have our all flaws. So that would be evolved, but I don't know that always works for everybody. It should.
So, because the reason why I'm bringing it up is because, we get guys with the Agoge and several women as well. A handful of some badass females. But this typically seems to happen with men, where you get a guy who's overweight, living by pleasure, just really being like a fucked up man, father, husband, man in general, just, getting unhealthy, got type 2 diabetes, hypertension, works, comes home, doesn't have energy to play with the kids and the wife. The wife's not really happy about it either because he just is a lump on the log, right? And he's going through the Groundhog Day, right? Mm-hmm. Wakes up, does the thing. Every day is the same, right? And that's why they get to be, putting on 15 pounds a year, and the next thing you know, they're 300 pounds, and et cetera. So they sign up with us, and all of a sudden they start living with purpose. They're on routine. They're waking up early. They're working out. They get their hormones straight. They're on a strict macronutrient diet to where they're like building muscle, losing fat, and their whole life is on fire. It changes their life. They learn that their life is of servitude. They're trying to serve their wife. They serve their kids, and the wife gets insecure. Now we've had multiple men who get focused, get in shape, stop living for themselves and start living for their family. And it might not always look that way, but it is. It's like you have to be your very best version so that you have the energy to do the things and then also make the money to provide for them. And it's all it's a lot. We don't really get an off day. You do all that. And then the wife is insecure and you guys drift apart because she's not doing the same thing. She's not growing.
Yeah. And I think, so for you did it first.
Yeah.
You totally, and I think probably part of us, both of us were kind of, when we met, sort of in that adolescent cycle of a divorce where you just kind of are like shoot from the hip, party your ass off, and kind of just don't care about anybody but yourself.
I think mine was most, there was that, but it was also like, because when we met, because I stopped contracting, it's really where my transition kind of started.
Yeah.
From post-military.
Yeah. So partially could be that, but even if you're coming out of a marriage that's long, sometimes it's just that. Whatever, we were both
freedom.
there. Yeah.
Freedom. It was freedom in general for life for the first time.
Yeah. We were both kind of living
10 years ago.
Pleasure driven. And then you first started to really, really change things. And then Dimitri was born and I was like, yep, this is my reason.
So it wasn't me, it was Dimitri. God, he gets it again. The kid wins everything.
No, you definitely, because you, like you said, you say it all the time, set the tone. You're the head of the household. And that for me really makes a difference. Having a partner, and I know that's so hard because you can't change people. No. But having a partner on the same page with you.
And we were always kind of on the same page, even on the party
and the bad side.
Yeah, and the bad side too. We were just, let's do it together.
Yeah. So one thing I can say is, men, if you're doing it, if you're really doing it, if you've changed your life, if you've started to live with purpose, if you're on track, you and your spouse is feeling a little insecure about it, you having like a heart-to-heart conversation with her, asking questions and not telling her things can make a big difference. Asking questions about her sense of purpose and where she finds that. Yeah. Asking questions about her reasons, her why. Why do you want to be the best version of yourself? What does that look like for you? How can I help you? Mm-hmm. Those three things. What is your why? What makes you feel like your purpose? Mm-hmm. And how can I help you? Can like break the ice and let her kind of maybe just start to even think about those questions herself. Because for me, it took me 37 years to determine how tough I was mentally. And part of that came with having a kid. I don't think I saw myself as serious. I don't think I took myself seriously.
Okay, kept promises to yourself. Yeah.
I sort of saw myself as artsy and
fun.
I don't think I saw myself as somebody who could follow through with anything.
You got a bigger reason to live, bigger reason to be better.
That's sort of your why.
Yeah.
And finding your purpose, finding your sense of stuff. Like, what are you fucking made of?
Yeah.
You know, going through childbirth, having a kid, a baby, dealing with that, losing the weight, all that stuff. Like, it seems like no big deal. Everybody's been doing it since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
But it really showed me that I can take myself seriously and I can make a plan and pull it together and do something hard and not be a little bitch about it.
Well, I mean, that's where it comes down. I mean, we talk about it on this thing all the time about doing hard things. It's not just for men. I mean, women should be doing hard things too, because it changes your
self-perception.
Yeah, it changes your self-perception, but it changes your mental level of what you're able to handle in life.
It's really, really sad to me that so many women don't move forward with any plans or goals because they have insecurities in their own abilities. So many women are not developing themselves, and that makes them have a sense of insecurity about their own abilities, their own skill set. And rightfully so, because you haven't developed yourself.
Yeah, so now taking it back to what I was saying, you get a guy who's like on the come up, and he's like, holy shit, man. I went from 300 pounds to 200 pounds. I'm living by a routine. I feel great. I'm making more money. I've got more time. I'm stoked to be around my family again. I'm stoked to be around my kids again. And the wife's just like,
it really is so sad that is happening, because it's like somebody is growing and you're resentful of it. Right.
And I think that's what it is. If you don't grow together, you're going to grow apart.
You start to feel resentful.
Did you feel like you were growing apart from me when I started to get all of my shit together?
I don't think I felt like I was growing apart from you.
I didn't feel that way.
But I felt behind.
Oh, okay.
If that makes any sense. I didn't feel like we were growing apart because we still were.
Because you're not competitive in any way, right?
Yeah. No, I did.
We have an ongoing joke. She says I'm competitive. I'm like, I'm not competitive at all. I've never competed in anything. And she's like, you're the most competitive person. I'm like,
says Mr. Selection and everything else, every other process you put yourself.
That's an individual thing. That's a total individual thing. Yeah. I'm not competing against someone.
Well, you're competing for a spot. No, I think ultimately, if that's the case, obviously that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like I hate to say it, but a lot of that, it's like a deal breaker. If you're with somebody that's resentful of your growth, that's hard.
Right. That's horrible. It's sad to say, but the reality is, like, what are you going to do with that?
But those are real emotions, like that she's dealing with.
Yeah, of course.
And they need to be addressed and identified as well.
Old Snoop Dogg broke it down the best, the whole gap effect. And that's just like, you've seen that video?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's what happens. It happens to people that are successful. It happens to people that become more successful and they start losing friends because their friends either become resentful or, insecure about
their own family.
Let's not go there. Yeah. So, and it's the come up. You start coming up, and if the people don't come with you, then you either got to come back down to them. So if you think about it, you're 400 pounds, you lose all this weight, your wife's like, I don't like this version of you. Like, what do I do? Start living by pleasure again and gain all the weight back so I can just go back to Groundhog Day until I put a shotgun in my mouth and blow my brains out? Like, What's the option here?
That's why I think it's so important that you, if that is you and you're in that position, that you're really able to kind of address that, what that is. Why are you feeling this way?
Yeah.
Have I done something to make you feel this way? Is there something specific you're afraid of?
Yeah.
You know, do you want to do this with me?
Right.
Because that might be, you know, in some ways, sometimes you and I deal with that. And it's like, I just want you to ask me to come with you. Like last night, I don't know if you haven't watched the most recent episode of Yellowstone, which episode was that last night?
I have no idea.
Okay. So last night's episode, this is a spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen it, cover your ears.
Yes. Earmuffs.
Beth wants to go with them to go to the branding.
That was the funniest scene. And I so identified. I know you probably knew that I was
knew you were identifying with it because I was feeling it. And I knew what she felt.
And I'm like, this woman is insane. First of all, she is insane. But I'm like,
she's your favorite character.
I know. Which is funny because she's my favorite character and Rip's your favorite character. But anyways, 100%. It was like, she's like, I want to go. And he's like,
she's like, I don't want to say that I want to go. I want you to ask me to go, and I want you to want me to go. You don't want me to go?
And I'm like, and I'm hearing him, and I'm like, this is on horseback. They have no food.
It's
no
cold.
Water.
It's wet.
Cold. There's no tents. They're sleeping on the ground. Like, this is going to be a really
and everybody's going to
shitty,
be telling her what to do, and she hates being told what to do.
Yeah, it's going to be a really shitty 3 days. Not really a place for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You hate it.
Yeah.
You hate this.
I'm telling you, you're going to hate it.
And now you want me to come with me to make my life more hard about how it's going to be.
I'm in charge of all these people, and you want to be a part of it.
To add another layer to the bullshit that I'm going to have to deal with for the next 3 days. Yeah. That sounds super fun, babe. I totally want you to come on this trip and do that in man country, because this is going to be man time.
Yeah. But I sometimes just want you to invite me to come.
I get it.
So maybe it is just that. Maybe somebody like, who is maybe your wife has been supporting you through all of your legitimately thick and thin.
Yeah.
You're fat. You were fat and now you're not. She supported you all along the way. Maybe she wants you to talk to her about coming and doing it with you.
Yeah.
And not from the sake of, oh, you're fat too, you need to do it. But just, this is a goal.
I will say that the people that have done, not everyone, it's not across the board. There's a lot of women that say, man, you've changed our lives and you've helped in a lot of it. But the ones that I really see thrive are the ones that do it together.
And it's just like you said, this is something that's so important for people to understand. And I wish it wasn't I wish that fitness and health and all of that wasn't such a body shaming, weird thing.
It's ridiculous.
People have made it so about
it's a negative.
Your body
yeah.
and the way that you look, when it is so much more than that.
Of course it's so much more. But the thing is what people are missing, that they're like, oh, you just want to look good naked. First of all, when we onboard people, if they come to me and they say, Nick, I just want to look good naked, I'm not your guy. Like, that's a byproduct that's a second and third order effect of what we're doing here. That is not the primary reason. If you're literally coming here to because I just want to look good naked, you need to go find some 25-year-old Instagram influencer that does that.
Yeah, or just get on an app.
Yeah, that's not even going to do it. You need coaching if you really want to look good naked. But at the end of the day, you just need to go find somebody that specifies specifically in that. That's not what we're selling. I'm selling life-changing, mindset. I want to change the way you think about things. I want to change the way you perceive the world. I want to change the way you perceive yourself and your family. Looking good naked is a second and third order effect of those changes.
Right.
I want to get, like you said, I want to get to the root cause. I don't want to treat the symptom. I want to treat the disease.
Yeah.
That's what I want to treat.
Because ultimately, for me, my depression and anxiety that I have dealt with throughout my life, I can't say it's centered around my physical appearance, because it hasn't.
No.
But the attributing factors of me wanting to live this fit, healthy lifestyle and not, constantly going against my own sense of self and what I valued, made me hate myself.
But look what happens when somebody oh, well, you just it's all aesthetics and this and that. It's like, no, listen, If I see a guy who's single digit body fats, he had single digit body fat, he's got muscle on his body, that person, I immediately know, well, the only way to get that is through discipline and consistency and focus, clarity of focus of an objective. So just by looking at an individual, I can tell whether they're lazy, inconsistent, or disciplined and consistent.
Right. Over a long period of time.
Over a very long period of time.
Just like in Tulsa King. I don't know if you watch Tulsa King. It's another incredible show that we like get
I'm a Stallone
time. Yeah.
fan.
Huge Stallone fan, both of us. So he says, you want to see like a certificate that says you went to college for 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
All that says to me is that you could be one place every day for 4 years, turning in assignments on time.
You're a great employee.
Yeah, you'd be a great person to hire.
Yeah.
Because you did that.
Yeah.
So same thing with fitness. But more than that, I think if you can really grasp in your heart of hearts, I think truthfully, like that Socrates quote, it is a shame for a man to go his entire life without seeing the true
beauty and strength of what his body's capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we go without like putting
you die not knowing what your real
what you were capable of,
what your body and mind was capable of. That's a fucking tragedy.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what made me depressed was knowing I wasn't doing what I was capable of.
You can do more.
Yeah. And I didn't take myself seriously enough to do that. So by coming off of alcohol for me for that 6 months period, I had such a clarity of focus. I started to become so self-aware of why I had been drinking and what it had done to my like drive.
Yeah.
It had done to my sleep. It had done to my, just overall hormones. It was like this huge clarity started to like awaken to me to the fact that like that was something I struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to struggle with it anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it in my life. And simply like for this, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be in shape? And how bad do you want to meet your goal? And I can tell you.
Can I rephrase that?
Yeah.
This is what I tell people if they message me. So if anybody messages me to talk about getting on the Agoge, this is what I'll ask you. Why? Why do you want to do those things?
Right.
Like, well, I just want to be healthier. Why?
Yeah.
And I don't want to give people the answer, but like this is the reason why I'm going to ask you, because when you say, well, I want these things, I want to be like what you said, I want all those things that you said, why do you want them? Because if you can't come up with a very deep-seated reasons why, you're going to quit on yourself. And I already know you will.
Yeah.
And if it's to look good naked, that shit doesn't get you out of bed.
That ain't going to keep you out of the liquor cabinet.
No, and it's not going to get you out of bed at 4:30 in the morning to go do burpees in the garage at 28 degrees.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen.
Right. But you know what?
You got to have a bigger reason why.
Even the whole bikini competition, it really, I've told people this because they're like, did you love it? Da, da, da. And I said, honestly, no, I love training for it.
Yeah.
I love getting the result of being in shape, but standing up on stage in my underwear and holding poses next to a bunch of people who they're trying to see if I look as good as the person to the right or left of me. And then they're writing it down on a little piece of paper and making a scowling face at me while I smile my ass off on stage in heels. And then standing backstage with starving and thirsty and cold as fuck because my body fat's so low, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I think I'm ready to go home.
Yeah,
that is not enough reason to do what I did.
Yeah,
what I did was for me working towards a change in my life that I'd wanted to see my entire life.
Yeah,
and seeing it, and knowing that I was capable of it for myself and for my son. I wanted to know that I could pull anything off if it meant showing him the best version of me forever. So
I think we should stick to jiu-jitsu competitions.
Yeah, I love jiu-jitsu. Even when I lose jiu-jitsu competitions, I feel like I'm on the cloud 9. I love it so much. I can't stop smiling. I remember my first jiu-jitsu competition, I just got trashed.
That girl beat your ass.
Beat my ass, and I remember I was so excited afterwards.
Ouch.
I was like, I did it. I was so excited.
She's like, I'm done. Okay.
I was like, that was awesome. So that being said, I think that kind of attacks that piece. It attacks the piece of depression and your why. Mm-hmm. There's one other thing I want to talk about, and that is anxiety.
It's bullshit.
So like you said, if you're depressed, you're living in the past, right? If you're anxious, you're worried about the future.
Yeah.
Right?
It's future pain, future task or pain, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've asked a bajillion people, what are you anxious about? And they'll say a lot of different things, but ultimately, anxiety is a preoccupation of things that haven't happened yet.
Right.
That might happen, that could happen.
Fear of the unknown.
Right.
Yeah. And what is fear? I got to get Tony Blauer on here.
Evidence appearing real.
Fear stands for false evidence appearing real.
So I'll say this. Anxiety for me, I started having it probably around 24 years old. And it was so real. Like I was having panic attacks, like full-blown emergency response to my whole entire body. The chest tightening, the panting, the full-blown. Crazy. You've seen it. You've heard, I'm sure. Lots of people have. I had been in an abusive relationship, got out of it.
Not me. Okay, not me.
Yeah. I got married at 19, somebody who was abusive. Right. I can share this now because he's dead. He killed himself. That's terrible. I know. But anyways, he...
Well, it just goes to show what those type of people are dealing with. Yeah.
He was dealing with his own demons. And so, he was abusive and controlling and crazy. I can say all these things, but everybody who knows him knows he was in a position to where a lot of that was learned / behavior that he had dealt with people that had done all those things to be abusive to him.
Not a victim, but
no, but yeah. And so I dealt with that, and getting out of that marriage was crazy. I still remember the night that I ended it, and it was like knock down, drag out, throwing me through walls and stealing my keys and chasing me through the house and screaming and cussing and choking and all the things that you hear in the stupid relationships, people that are like that. And that was kind of when it started.
Yeah.
I started having anxiety at that point because I felt like I was never going to be able to get out of it. Because even though I left him, he wouldn't stop. And I felt like I had always kind of thought if I left him, it would be done. But I left him and he was acting like he wasn't going to allow me to leave him. So that kind of was what started the anxiety.
I don't know if that's the way it works, but
when you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
So fa-la-la-la. That's how it started. I started to kind of let those sorts of thoughts of anxiety and fear and all that come on me. At that point, it started to happen more regularly.
Yeah.
And kind of some of the ways I dealt with that were smoking cigarettes and, staying up really late. Because I sort of had this thing, if I stayed awake, some bad things weren't going to happen to me because I wouldn't be asleep. I don't know. It was weird.
This is Nightmare on 13th Street or whatever. Know. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Stupid stuff like this, right? But throughout my life, I kind of dealt with a lot of panic and anxiety, sense of feeling trapped, feeling like I couldn't get away. And so because you're married to me, there's a lot of triggers for those sort of things.
Yeah, I tell you all the time, you're trapped. I'm like, you're trapped. You can never leave ever again. You're done.
So anyways, those
Just
are
for
all
the public, if ever like, I'm gonna go on the record. I'm never leaving this woman. So
you heard it.
She's
You heard it
trapped.
first.
Yeah, she's trapped.
So again, those were real things that happened. That was a real fear. That was a real sense that happened to me, right? So I'm not saying anxiety is not real. Like, just so if anybody who's listening and they struggle with anxiety, I'm not saying that your anxiety is not real. I'm saying that.
I'm saying it's bullshit.
Well, that was a very real thing, though.
Oh, I get it. You're feeling that. Yeah.
I had that happen. I was afraid. I started to have anxiety. And really just for the next 15 years, it was like a lot of anxiety for a lot of different things. I did Xanax. I tried lots of different things. Mm-hmm. That shit, I think I lasted like a week. That shit made me feel like a drone. Like I was just tired and I didn't care about anything. And I was like, this ain't it. There's got to be.
Man, there's so many women that are like, they just pop those pills like it's Skittles. It's just a normal thing.
And this is, and then you create.
And the pharmaceutical, the doctors who should be fucking locked up for it are just like, oh, you're stressed? You're a mom? Boom, here you go.
Right. Okay. Then that's going to take away your sex drive.
Here's some Valium. Well, they don't need that.
And then you're going to gain a bunch of weight because you don't have a desire to work out. And then you're going to have like twofold. Now you're fat. You've got, don't want to have sex with your husband and you don't feel like doing anything.
And then your husband does what?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. Right.
We all know how that story goes.
I'm not.
And then he's the asshole.
Right. I'm not condemning anybody who's on meds for anxiety. Okay. I'm just telling you what.
I'll do it. You're so nice, babe. You're so fucking nice. I'm condemning you. Don't be a Prozac nation. Stop popping fucking pills. There's other solutions. Go to the fucking gym. Get an ice bath.
Yes. All I'm saying is.
Take some action over your life.
All I'm saying is if you're somebody that's on them and you're struggling with weight gain, lack of sex drive, no interest in anything, disinterest in everything, maybe it's time to switch. Maybe it's time to try something else.
Call Court. Yeah, go hit my link below. Go to Core Medical. Get your hormones checked. Get off all that shit. Get on some testosterone.
So I'll tell you this too. Like that was another reason. Okay, so that really started like another reason why I drank, because that would help me to chill out. Right.
But it's a lie.
But it's a lie because ultimately then
you're not sleeping good. Yeah.
And the anxiety moves to depression, depending on how late it is and how much you've had to drink.
And then you're crushing cookies.
Or you're popping pain pills because sometimes that just takes the edge off also. So it's like then you're, okay, I got pain pills because they kind of take the edge off the Xanax. If I'm really hype and I need to take that.
And the whole thing is you're just masking your stuff so you don't have to deal with your shit.
Right. It's a coping thing. So you don't have to actually dive in and get the work out, right?
Yeah.
So, and we can do it for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. We can do it as long as you want because they'll keep writing scripts for it. Mm-hmm. And
all the way to the grave.
Yeah. They'll make their money and you'll be stuck for a really long time. So that moved into, okay, the anxiety issues started to get so bad that I literally would wake up every single morning and throw up. Every day for years, I'd wake up and throw up. And I wasn't bulimic at the time. I was just incapable of controlling my response to stress and anxiety. So it just would come out. Mm-hmm. So that was like, had become so bad that I was like eating my stomach lining up and they wanted to put me on a pill for that.
Of course.
And so how deep does it go? We're talking about a 24-year-old woman, 24, healthy as fuck, on pain pills, anxiety meds, alcohol, and now they want to put me on an antacid daily, antacid pill, Nexus or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
So now I'm on everything you can think of just to cope instead of dealing with my shit.
And how do we deal with it? Go to the fucking gym.
So I'll say this. I got this book. It's a 21-day brain detox by Dr. Caroline Leaf. It is faith backed, the back end of it, but she's also a psychologist, and
there's nothing wrong with that.
She talks in depth about understanding your thoughts and your thought life and how your hypothalamus works and how your thoughts create thought trees, is what she's calling them, for neural pathways to get through your brain. If you think the same thoughts repeatedly over and over, that neural pathway starts to create a groove in your brain.
Of course.
And then your thoughts almost like fall into that hole. Yeah. It's like basically like, so you weren't thinking about it, but you're going to go ahead and think about it because there's a groove there. Yeah. And it's gonna trap you. So
I call it, I mean, I don't know if it's a real thing, but I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever said it, but I call it like you have two snowball effects. You can create a positive snowball effect, or you can create a negative snowball effect. That's up to you. You have a choice. You can get up early, be intentional about your day, your routine, and stack wins, even their small wins. You know, and I've talked about that. Like I wake up at a certain time. Win number 1, I didn't cheat on myself. First of all, I don't have a snooze. I'm on the anti-snooze club. So I wake up and I just wake up. That's win number 1. Weigh myself. Win number 2, take my supplements. Win number 3, get in the ice bath. Win number 4, by 5:20, I've stacked 4 wins for the day, and I've all kept my promises to myself.
He's changed the water jug out, which is a win for me.
Oh, Jesus, that thing. It seems like there's always like a really inopportune time for that water jug to be
right
out.
When
but
it's late at night.
Late at night or early in the morning.
Yeah. So all that, I can just say, if you're looking for something tangible, a great place to start is the 21-Day Brain Detox book by Dr. Caroline Leaf. That helped me to understand my thought life better. The next step that I think probably, obviously more than anything, is going to change the way you see yourself, and that's going to be your fitness and just overall, like, even if you don't look good, you feel better, right? No matter how long it takes, prolong.
That's why I always laugh, like the guys in the Agoge, like within 3 weeks, they're like, oh my God, feel so much better.
I look so good.
I look so good. Like, dude, you don't look any different. But
in 6 weeks, you will.
And but the thing is, like, on a chemical level, they are feeling better. Yeah. So they see themselves differently. So like your self-esteem and your confidence is going up because you're getting that dopamine hit. You're doing that positive snowball effect.
Yes. Yeah. And then third being nutrition and changing the way that, and the things that you put in your body, not just alcohol, but food in general, can alter your state of mind just 100%. By what you're putting in your body.
It's just you get people just discredit their system like it is like fuel. If you put shit fuel, if you go to Greece and put the water gas, you know, the petrol that's mixed with water, so they get
cheaper.
More out of it, the cheap gas.
Your
car's not going to run for as well. If you put the good American made premium fuel in, it's going to run better. It's the same thing with your body. If you're eating, shit out of a box and crushing sugar and, having a liter of cola a day.
Oh my God.
Whatever it is your thing, and crushing donuts at 10 o'clock at night, whatever it may be, your body is going to run like shit and you're going to feel like shit. But if you do what Allie does and eats a ton of rabbit food and salmon and
tuna
and
spinach,
you're going to run like a champ.
Zucchini and squash.
Yeah. She's always trying to get me to eat vegetables. I'm like, I ain't into it.
He gets his greens.
I do get my greens.
But ultimately, huge piece of even just the anxiety puzzle.
Well, let's talk about anxiety in the cold bath.
Okay.
And then I want to talk about naps, because I got destroyed on social media and YouTube.
Oh boy.
About fucking naps on the Real Ones podcast.
Okay. So anxiety and the cold bath. You've been doing some research about it.
Yeah. So you brought up something. The anxiety for me has never been a big thing. Don't get me wrong, I've had a little bit of it, but it's quickly identified, and I didn't start dealing with anxiety until I was a business owner.
Right, which is nuts, because it's literally like you're going to battle to go like have a bunch of dudes shoot at you and you don't have anxiety.
Zero. calm, cool, and collective, bro. Like,
But
no
then
big
you
deal.
get
This
out
is all normal. This is normal life.
and you've got to like sign a bunch of business documents and you're like, fuck, this is
And like,
serious.
am I moving the needle fast enough? Holy shit, this is a lot. Anyways, so with all that said, I was actually looking into, like, 'cause obviously, like, as we deal with clients, and don't get me wrong, I have had bouts of dealing with anxiety. I'm just not crippled by anxiety because I have tools. I have tools in place to deal with it, and I acknowledge what it is, and I've studied what it is, and it is a fear of the unknown. It is a fear of this future task that I have to do. So I started looking into it as far as what it is and how the body responds to it. And I go, okay, this is what it is. And then looking into, as I've gotten more into cold therapy since Iceland, when we did it with Hapthor at his house, I think it was his 7th Iceland Ironman.
Oh, wow.
I want to think it was number 7, I think. Anyways, we did some hot cold therapy.
The one we did.
The one we did,
yeah.
The one when we were there. So he was explaining the recovery aspect of it. And so since getting into it, and I was deathly afraid of the cold. So one of the things is, for me, not afraid, I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm like, I don't like being cold. I don't like cold water. I just don't want it.
You're a summer kind guy.
Period.
Yeah.
I grew up in Florida. The Gulf is like 80 degrees, or not even more than that. It's like bath water. Like
You like to be hot.
I like to be hot. And so the cold has been a weakness of mine mentally. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, as I've gotten better, as I've gotten stronger and better, and, as I've gotten older and more anti-fragile, that was one of the weaknesses that I wanted to kill. So boom, right into the ice. Like, started getting ice baths. Not only that, but I'm getting older and recovery's a little bit more, takes a little more action. So I'm more, being more intentional about my recovery. And that's a big part of it. So looking into what ice baths, and particularly like what cold plunge has been putting out of, a lot of different data about depression and, how it's not curing, but how it's treating people with like autism and anxiety and all this kind of stuff. So we were looking, you and I were talking about it, and what getting a person into the ice triggers the same physical and mental response that an anxiety attack does.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you get in, you immediately can't breathe.
Panic.
It's immediately fight or flight. Like, your flight response goes in like, I'm freaking out. I can't breathe. I have to get out. So it's an amazing tool, because for somebody who's dealing with an anxiety, it gives you because anxiety is not a physical problem that you have to solve. It is a physical thing.
It can become a physical thing, yeah.
It is a physical thing, but it's not something that you can, like, it's not something I can tangibly do. It's something I have to think about and process and that sort of thing. But see, when you get into the ice, you get into 30, 40 degree water. This is a physical thing that I can control with my breathing and overcome. Because I'm getting the same response, but it's something that I'm physically doing. So
your central nervous system is on fire.
Yeah,
like,
so
you are
freaking out. Yeah, but here's the beauty. So I'm triggering this anxiety response by getting into the ice. If I can master that, if I can, through breath work, through a coach, through somebody who understands what they're doing, and I've worked with a lot of people on this since I've been doing it. And like I said, I wanted to master this thing and not be afraid of it anymore. You are now getting the tools to deal with the anxiety attack, because it's the same response, both mentally and physically. And if you can get in the ice and you can control your breath and you can control your mind, when those things happen, you now go, oh, this is the same thing. I need to control my breath, control my mind. And because by doing that, you become more mentally resilient, and you've just moved the needle in your life. And you don't have to be a champ out the gate. If you get in there and you're like, I'm going to do 30 seconds. I'm going to do breath work. I'm going to do my pre-breath work. I'm going to do breath work in there, and I'm working with somebody, and then I get out, I'm going to work on my breath work, my post ice bath. 30 seconds. And then you do a minute, 60 seconds, and you work your way up to the 3-minute mark. But I mean, I've done this with grown men. I've done this with kids at the Squire program. 11-year-old kids, same thing. They go internal, breath work's freaking out, their breath is freaking out, they're freaking out, full panic mode. And you have to work with them. You have to like get them to see that they're strong enough to do it. That changes everything. So anyways, it's a very cool tool to take something that's a mental issue that someone might be dealing with, put it into a physical problem that they can then solve and become accustomed to.
And then afterwards feel incredible.
Yeah. And that, I mean, take all the, like the recovery and all that aside, just look at it from, if you look at it from just the mental thing, but like they're talking about like, you know, people that are dealing with autism and utilizing it to get them back into their own bodies and get them to learn how to control themselves. Self-awareness and things like that. Same thing with, I mean, it's curing things with like depression, anxiety. It's just amazing. And then you add on all the other stuff, the increased metabolism, the recovery, the sleep. I mean, when I started doing it, you mentioned about my mood in the morning.
Yeah. Oh my God. You're not a morning person at all.
Nope.
But you do them. And as soon as you do them, you are.
I'm fine. It's like immediately
switched on. Like I wasn't even allowed to talk to you until you had deemed it time.
Well, wake up, Mike. You can be here.
Just don't speak.
Just don't speak to me. Yeah. But now I get up early and I go do that. And by the time I come out, it's like, I'm like, hey, it's like 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, what's up, guys?
I'm like, babe.
Let's do the deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyways, so that's an amazing tool, and I highly recommend everyone doing that. I actually just did a whole talk with the Agoge people on the 3 different styles of ice baths and et cetera. But anyways, so as many people know, I went on the Real Ones podcast with John Berthenol, and he brought up taking naps. He didn't even bring it up. One of his crew, you know, they're a bunch of California boys, so they're all super chill. And one of his boys that he brought up, somebody's like, man, I can't. He's like, he takes naps. I can't trust a man that takes naps. You know, and I went on this whole thing. You know, he went on this whole thing. I went on the whole thing, and I'm like, no, man, anti-nap club. And listen, I used to take naps, but the thing is with taking naps, it's like I felt like people do it as like a crutch. Like you're doing it because your hormones are messed up. You physically just don't have
or you don't go to bed early enough, and you don't. So like that's the problem I have with naps is like it's sort of the cop out to going to bed on time and getting up early.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you didn't go to bed when you needed to, and so you're gonna just sleep in the middle of the day.
My thing is like the day. And listen, if you don't have objectives, if you don't have goals, if you don't have things. If you
take your nap.
Well, sure, if you're on vacation, absolutely. But my point being is in a normal day-to-day life, the world is moving and people are like, you go take your nap, dude. Go take your fucking nap. While you're napping, I'm fucking moving progress. And then when you're like, Nick, how did you get to where you're at? Oh, you remember all that decade that you were napping? I was fucking working.
Yeah.
I was fucking making shit happen. And they're like, well, you need naps to do this and that. And all these health people came out like nap, 20-minute nap. Like, that's cool, bro. I get it. I believe all of you. I think all of you are correct. There is a lot of health benefits to a 20-minute nap. Einstein took naps, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I don't give a shit. I'm not taking naps because I got shit to do.
Right.
I have more important things to do than taking a 20-minute nap. If I feel like I'm tired in the middle of the day, I'll go fucking jump in the cold plunge, or I'll go do a freaking shot of BP and Infocus or something.
Yeah.
Like, I got shit to do because that 20, 30 minutes that I would be napping, I can accomplish so much more. And then by the end of that day, and if I get that stuff accomplished, now I'm not working later and I can be with you and the kids. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I got all that stuff done. the one caveat to the caveat to that is every once in a while, not every once in a while, if this woman catches me on a Sunday in the middle of the day and we do our marital, we bang, listen, I can't help it.
What is that? It's the tryptophan.
It's tryptophan. It's like straight up. There's nothing I can do. You zap my
But
energy.
I feel amazing and I'm ready to party.
You're out. And you're like, I'm like, you have all the energy in the world. And I'm like, I physically cannot move.
I stole it.
You stole it.
Sorry
So there's the caveat, guys. That I'm coming clean. I'm coming clean there.
To be fair, you do put in a lot of work.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that happens, say on a Sunday afternoon, Nick's we should play that song.
Yeah.
Nick's gonna pass out for a little while.
But be somebody that people can count on. And if you're snoozing in the middle of the day because you stayed up super late and you had to get up for work, and so you come home at 4 and just crash for 2 hours, and your family's like doing life, and you're just like the guy that's asleep for 2 hours.
So that's really what we were talking about is like, my tier 1 Agoge client, Tim Esposito, and those cleaning solutions. There you go, Tim. There's your plug. Multi-million-dollar business up in Ohio. Not Ohio. Where's he at? Illinois, I think. Somewhere up there. Anyways, he before he came on, he's like, man, I was so tired. I was exhausted. He just said it on the last call. He was like, he's fallen asleep at his desk. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, your life is so unhealthy and so fucked up that you're falling asleep driving, you're falling asleep at your desk, or like your ex-husband who would, like, life exhausted him so much. He would come back from work.
He hated his job so bad, and he dreaded going to work every day. So like he would want to stay up all night so that he could like enjoy life, because he hated having to go to work. So it was like he'd stay up super late to avoid going to work, but then have to get up at 5 and then come home and sleep for like 3 hours every day.
And the kids are playing, you're there, like life's happening.
And he's just checked out.
Yeah,
right.
You're out. That's what I'm talking about, guys, with the whole nap things. Like, life is fucking happening. And because your life is so fucked up, like, you're missing it.
Yeah.
You're missing it. You know, you go on vacation, you want to train, you want to do things, and then you want to take a siesta. Go live your best life. Me, I want to keep living life. I don't want to,
People can count on you.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's my take on the naps. The whole world's moving while you're napping.
All right, guys.
Oh, you're done?
I'm done.
Oh, you got to go get
I gotta go get my child.
Get your child. All right, guys. Well, I hope you...
And I'll say this too, if you're somebody that's dealing with anxiety or depression or any of that stuff and you want to talk about it to somebody, I can give you some resources. You can message me on Instagram at Alison Capra, and I have a ton of resources that I've used.
Great, babe. Now a bunch of dudes are going to be sliding up in your DMs. Way to go.
I'm just trying to make that money. No, I'm just kidding.
Her OnlyFans links is in her bio.
Stop telling people that. People really think that. So... truthfully, though, if you message me, I can send you links to that book or
I'll send you
some other resources.
It's called the Agoge.
The Agoge.
Put you on a plan.
Yeah.
Take away all your excuses and all your bullshit.
And really help you. Or you can send your wife to me, and I'll send her a link to my book, How Not to Be a Miserable Cow, which is available on Amazon. As well as...
Yeah, but don't you sign them if you get them off my
Yeah,
website?
or you can get them on AlisonCapra.com or Nick's website, and I'll sign it if you get it from me. But if you want it in time for Christmas and you want it prime, I probably still could get it to you in time for Christmas. But
no, we're good.
Yeah.
Up until the 16th, 17th, something like that. All right, guys, you guys know the deal. Screenshot this, tag the Always Forward podcast, tag my wife, Alison Capra, and myself. We'll share it out as well. Appreciate you guys, and share this with a friend. You guys know the deal. Never quit, never surrender, always forward. And we'll see you in the next episode.